Hi, hello everyone. My name is Hadil, and today we're going to talk about proportional editing. I have talked about this in a previous video, but briefly. So today we're going to go a little bit more into detail, and I'll share with you why or when I actually use it. Proportional editing is an easy way to edit a bunch of points based on a specific algorithm. And you can turn it on either with the keyboard by hitting the letter O, or you can just click it over here. And it works mostly in edit mode. So if I move this right now with G and I move it on the Z axis, you can see the circle of the fall off. But if I go back and then I hit tab for edit mode and go to smooth, which is the default. I had sharp just because I was checking something, but usually it's smooth when you first turn it on. And then I'm going to select the middle point, and I want you to note how the mesh changes. So if I hit G and then I hit Z just to move it on the Z axis, and then you can scroll to increase or decrease the fall off circle. And you'll notice that it looks exactly like this. That's why I wanted to show you on these grids first, so you can see how it looks, and then you'll understand how to use it in your other objects. And let's shade this smooth so we can actually see it better. I'm gonna shade all of them smooth. And now I'm going to choose two other ones and use them on the other grids. So for this one, I want to choose the sphere. And those three are my most used ones. That's why I chose to demonstrate with them. But you can definitely use any of the other ones if you think it fits with what you need. Random is also fun if you want to try it out, because it just goes randomly. It picks up random points and moves them smoothly with the point that you're moving. You can also move multiple points, but this is not the one that I use often, but it's good to use it with terrains and stuff like that. So if that's what you're looking for, then that's perfect for it. But sphere is also good if you want to create hills. And if I do the same thing, you'll start noticing that it looks just exactly like the image over here, or the icon. And then the last one I'm going to use sharp for. And this is actually my most used one after smooth. I don't use the sphere as often. And if I hit G and then freeze the Z axis, you can actually see it looking exactly like the symbol over here. Now, this is not very helpful for the majority of our projects, especially for my projects. I know I don't need grids that look like this, but because of what I know already, I can use them with other things. So for smooth, you can use it with almost anything. So let's say you want to move a few points over here, hit Control, and it'll select the entire line from your first selected point or the shortest path. Actually, let's change it to smooth. And let's say I want to move this, but I also want everything else to move slightly with it. So if I do this, and as I increase, now it's proportional. You can specify how much of this mesh can move or should move with the points that you're moving. And this way you can stretch things a little bit if you want without ruining the mesh too much, or edit a few points that are protruding or going outward by using proportional editing with smooth. I can't give you a specific example for when I used smooth, because I think I've used it on almost everything that I've created if I needed to edit a few points and I didn't want things to be very close to each other. So if I wanted to, let's say, put this or take this in a little bit, you're gonna see that if I don't use proportional editing, because if you make this smaller, then it's going to mimic something without proportional editing, or movement without proportional editing. But once I increase it, now I don't get intersecting points. And if you want to move, let's say, those points, but you don't want, and you want it to move even smoother, so you want to increase the fall off, but you don't want it to affect, let's say, this corner, then you can just select this corner, hit H to hide it, and then it's not going to affect that. So if I move it now again on the x-axis, I can move it so far away. But then when I unhide my part of the mesh with Alt H, you can see that it's staying where it is originally. So it didn't really move. And I'm going to show you an example where I usually hide things when I want to use proportional editing in a bit. Next, when do I use the sphere? I've only used it for a computer screen or anything that I want to look a little bit more uniform in the way that it's going outward. And I want the fall off to be a little bit tinier and sharper from the outer edge. The only time I've used it is on a TV screen or a computer screen. I used this with, but I definitely don't create a sphere. I just increase the fall off until it hits the corner. So it just moves the center upward and then smooths everything down to the corners. And then sharp is my most used one after smooth, just because I use it with paper and books. And the reason why I use sharp with books is because it creates this curve that you usually see with book covers after you read the book. And that's what I want to achieve sometimes, just to give a little bit more realism to the books that I am posting. It depends on the post, of course. The majority of the book models I use are hardcover, or the ones that I've created for this year are mainly hardcovers, and they're the same model. But if you're looking to create that look, whether it's for a book or for anything else that you needed that for, like a piece of paper, and I'm going to show you a quick example of that. So if I add a cube, and then go into edit mode, I scale it down on the Z-axis, scale it on the X-axis. Now I have to remove proportional editing because it's going to move everything together, or I just make it smaller if I know I'm going to use it over and over again and I don't want to turn it off. Okay, scale it on the X-axis and make it kind of resemble a book. And then I'm going to remove these faces. Usually I have pages over here, X and then faces, and now I have a book. And let's move it, or let's move this away. And then I'll go back into edit mode, and I have to add a little bit of mesh, because right now, if I move this point, even with proportional editing, it's not going to do anything because there's no geometry basically. So what I need to do is hit R, or Command R actually, and then another one over here until I have squares. I don't need to do it over here, but I'm just going to do it. And this is when I hide the bottom part because I don't want it to be affected. So depending on where you're going to curve the paper, you're going to select the point. So if you want to curve it from the corner, you can just select this corner. But usually when we fold the book, this entire thing gets curved. So I hit G on the Z-axis. And now depending on the fall off, you're going to get a curve. And now hit Option or Alt H, and you're going to see that this did not move. If I move it right now, I double click this and let's move it. And you'll see that it slightly moves, but when I hit it, it stayed straight. And now I have a cover that is a little bit curved. Let's give it a little bit of thickness just so we can see it. And we can move it inward a little bit because it looks a little weird. And then you can shade it smooth or auto smooth. So you can see this is doing the exact same thing as this, but because we selected the center point over here, it's moving everything around it and curving it inward towards that point. So this one is creating the same exact thing, but because we're selecting only the edge points, it's curving this side only. So just to recap, if you want something that gives it this inward curve, then sharp is your friend. If you want just a gradient, then smooth is the best choice. And if you want anything that looks like a dome, then definitely go with sphere. And of course, try the other ones out. I'm sure some of you will find a use for the other ones. Okay, that's it for today. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.